All right, let's dive right into this explainer and relive what has to be one of the absolute most dramatic showdowns in recent sports history. We're setting the scene under the bright lights of Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Park, host of the 2026 MLB All-Star Game. The stage was totally set for an insane night of power, broadcast for the very first time on Netflix. But man, what actually unfolded? It was a legendary upset literally nobody saw coming. So we're dropping right into the thick of it. Just picture the scene. You've got 24-year-old Jordan Walker, a first-time All-Star for the St. Louis Cardinals, stepping into the box. And he is facing this roaring, actively hostile Phillies crowd that's been booing basically anyone not wearing a Phillies jersey all night. And Walker's reaction to this wall of noise? It's incredible. He just wears his hat backward, chews this massive wad of bubblegum, and drops an absolute gem of a quote. "I was once told you don't boo nobodies." Honestly, that is the exact mindset you need for what was about to happen.
Part 1. The Philly Showdown. David versus Goliath in Citizens Bank Park.
The tension in that building was just palpable. You couldn't script a better villain-hero dynamic if you tried. On one side, you have Walker, a 24-year-old phenom making his Derby debut, having to deal with the suffocating pressure of a crowd desperately wanting him to fail. And on the other side, Kyle Schwarber, the ultimate hometown hero, making his third Derby attempt, totally feeding off the energy of 40,000 Phillies fans begging to see him finally take the crown. The atmosphere was completely electric. Moving on to part 2, a breakout season, the rise of Jordan Walker. Now, to really get how Walker found himself in this pressure cooker, we kind of have to rewind and look at his explosive 2026 regular season. I mean, look at the sheer magnitude of this breakout. In 2024, he hit just 5 home runs. In 2025, only 6. And then, boom. By the 2026 All-Star break, he had already launched 22 absolute moonshots. That is the literal definition of finding your swing, right? And listen, it wasn't just the long ball either. His slash line was ridiculous. A .294 average, an .886 OPS, and a staggering 74 RBIs, which actually led all of Major League Baseball at the break. To put that in perspective, at just 24 years old, he became the youngest Cardinals All-Star position player since Albert Pujols did it way back in 2004. That is some incredibly elite company to keep. But the truly crucial point here is that his underlying baseball savant data completely backs us up. It was no fluke. His average exit velocity was sitting in the 98th percentile. He was hitting the ball harder than almost anyone else in the league. Combine that with a barrel percentage in the 87th percentile and a hard hit rate over 51%, the guy's swing was just perfectly primed for a power showcase like this. Which brings us to part 3, new rules, new strategy. The 2026 format changes. So the rules were completely revamped for this Netflix debut, and it totally flipped the script. Forget the old frantic 3-minute timers or the traditional outs. MLB tossed those out and brought in strict swing limits. You get 20 swings in round 1 and 15 swings for round 2 in the finals. But here is the massive game changer. If you hit a home run on your very final allotted swing, you get to keep going until you don't hit one out. Suddenly, it's not just about raw endurance anymore. Efficiency and having that clutch gene are absolutely essential. Part 4, Path to the Finals, Surviving the Bracket. With these wild new rules in play, both of our sluggers had to survive a really grueling bracket. Walker set the tone right away, easily clearing the first round with 13 homers. Meanwhile, the Philly crowd got an absolute shock when their other hometown guy, Bryce Harper, was bumped out early with just 8. We also have to mention Junior Caminero, who launched 12 homers in that round, including a jaw-dropping 491-foot blast, the longest of the entire night. But Caminero's raw power? It was no match for Walker's insane efficiency in the semifinals. Listen to this. Walker needed just 7 swings to hit 6 home runs, blowing right past Caminero's total of 5. He was so dialed in, it honestly looked effortless. He punched his ticket to the finals by perfectly conserving his energy exactly when he needed to. And here we go, part 5, 6 swings to glory, the climax. We are right back at that boiling point in the finals against Schwarber. The stadium is quite literally shaking. Because he was the lower seed, Schwarber went first, and man, he completely fed off that roaring crowd. He got right into a groove and set a massive, intimidating target of 11 home runs on his 15 swings. He's hitting second deckers, using the whole field. It felt like an insurmountable mountain to climb. So Walker steps up, but suddenly, that magic from the semifinals, it seemed completely gone.
As his swing count is draining away, he's sitting there with just 5 home runs, down by 6, with basically no swings left. You could feel it in the building. The Philly fans were already getting ready to celebrate. A hometown coronation for Schwarber felt totally inevitable at that exact second.
But Walker, he didn't panic at all. He stayed insanely calm, still chomping on that bubble gum, just ice water in his veins. And he exploited that exact rule change we talked about. Remember, as long as you hit a homer on your final swing, you stay alive. Down to his absolute last life, Walker miraculously launched not 1, not 2, but 6 consecutive bombs to stay alive and walk the whole thing off.
No way, right?
The final result? A stunning 12-11 victory margin. His 12th and final blast completely silenced the Philly faithful and secured him the crown. He broke the hometown hearts, but cemented himself as an absolute legend to basically everyone else watching. Part 6. Making Cardinals history, the legacy of the 2026 Derby. After the dust settled, Walker threw on that massive Derby champion's gold chain and the leather jacket. And really think about what he accomplished here for the St. Louis Cardinals. It had been 41 years, and no player from that wildly storied franchise had ever won this event. He achieved what even the legendary Albert Pujols couldn't manage in 4 separate tries. First Cardinal ever. Oh, and as a nice little bonus, the prize purse he took home that night more than doubled his entire 2026 season salary. Not a bad night's work, right? So I'm going to leave you with this to chew on. After breaking out as the league's top RBI guy, conquering an incredibly hostile crowd, perfectly adapting to a high-stakes new format, and taking down the game's best sluggers in a dramatic walk-off, are we looking at baseball's next generational icon? It sure feels like it. Thanks so much for joining me as we broke down this explainer, and I'll see you on the next one.